Hello everybody, this is Professor R.M. Mahendrakar. Today we'll be discussing about the environmental factors, the hierarchy in ecological systems, and also we shall discuss about the various principles the relationship between organisms and environment are based upon. The ecosystem consisting of biotic community and the physical environment has many levels. On one level, individual organisms both respond to and influence the abiotic component. At the next level, the individuals of the same species form a population. In ecology, a group of individuals of the same species occupy a given area, such as a population of Terminalia species tree or a rabbit within a forest. They form a population. Population of plants and animals in an ecosystem do not function independently of each other. Some population compete with other population for limited resources such as food, water, or space. In other cases, one population is the food resource for the another. So two populations or more than two populations may mutually benefit from each other, each doing better in the presence of the other. All populations of different species living and interacting within an ecosystem are referred to collectively as a community. Herbivores consume plants, predators eat prey, and individuals compete for the limited resources. When individuals die, other organisms consume and break down their remains, recycling the nutrients contained in their dead tissue back into the soil. The different communities of plants and animals in an area form an ecosystem. Although each ecosystem on the landscape is distinct in that it is composed of a unique combination of physical conditions such as topography and soils, and associated sets of plants and animals, population, community. The broad-scale pattern of climate and geological characterizing our planet gave rise to regional patterns in the geographic distribution of the ecosystems. Geographic regions having similar geographical and climatic conditions, that is, patterns of temperature, precipitation, and seasonality, support similar type of communities and ecosystems. For example, warm temperate, high rates of precipitation, and lack of seasonal characterize the world's equatorial regions. These warm, wet conditions year-round support vigorous plant growth and highly productive evergreen forest known as the tropical rainforest. These broad-scale regions, dominated by similar types of ecosystem, such a tropical rainforest, grassland, and desert, are referred to as biomes. All the biomes of the earth together form the biosphere. This is the highest level of organization of ecological system. This biosphere forms a thin layer about 5 to 20 kilometers thick around the earth supports all life forms. Biosphere is further divided into parabiosphere and eubiosphere. Parabiosphere consists of hostile environmental conditions like high altitudes, polar regions, deep oceans, volcanic geysers, most polluted areas, etc. The remaining eubiosphere consists of three chief regions, namely the atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere. The biosphere and the other components of the Earth, that is, atmosphere, hydrosphere, and geosphere, or the lithosphere, forms the planet Earth. Ecology is the study of complex web of interaction between organisms and the environment at all levels of organization, from the individual organisms to the biosphere. In an ecosystem, the species and the environment are taken as a complex whole environment. Environment, as pointed earlier, in itself is a complex of factors acting, reacting, and interacting with the organism complex. Thus, the organism and the environment are webbed together and are in the state of constant flux. Relationship between organisms and the environment are based upon certain principles which are summarized below. Environment in a habitat is divided into biotic and abiotic components, and the activities of the organisms are influenced by the combined effect of various environmental factors. An organism is a component of the environment. Life activities are influenced by that environmental component which occurs in minimum quantity. This is called Liebig's law of limiting factor. Now, for example, if all the environmental conditions are optimum and one factor, that is light, is not sufficient, it is limiting, then the rate of photosynthesis of plant is affected. Thus, the life activities of the plant is affected. It is affected by the limiting factor, that is the light. The environment requirement of different organisms differ from individuals to individuals and also with age and need. The tolerance limit of an individual for different environmental factors may be different, because the same organism may show different tolerance limit at different environmental conditions. Organisms having wide tolerance limit for many environmental factors are widely distributed. That is why we human beings, we are distributed throughout the world, because we show tolerance to all the different types of environmental conditions. Widely distributed species are adapted to various habitat conditions by evolving ecotypes. An organism is a product of nature, that is, the genetic makeup, and nurture, that is, environmental upbringing. To make it clear, now all the organisms that are born, they have got their own natural genetic makeup. But if the environmental conditions are favoring for their normal growth and development, then they are well nurtured and they remain successful. But if the environmental conditions are not up to the mark, then they are not nurtured properly and they become weak. That is why we say an organism is a product of nature and nurture. The next principle is every habitat has potential to support a certain number of organisms. This is known as carrying capacity of that habitat. That is, a habitat can sustain only a particular number of organisms. If the number of organisms increase beyond its capacity, then the habitat cannot support it. Sun is the only source of energy in our Earth's environment, and the life depends on solar energy. Organisms live through exchange of energy. In any habitat, a community is born, it grows with passage of time, and through succession, it is stabilized to form a complex community. Life on Earth exists in a thin mantle or layer around the Earth. This layer forms the biosphere. The biosphere is not uniform structure and it consists of life-supporting habitats called ecosystems or ecosystems. An ecosystem has producers, consumers, and decomposers constituting the biotic component and life-supporting matter and energy which constitute the abiotic component. Energy flow, synthesis of matter, and balanced relationship of biotic and abiotic component in an ecosystem are regulated through ecological processes. Ecological factors are many and diverse, and often intricately mixed and interdependent. So these are the different principles the relationship between organisms and environment are based upon. Now, in any ecosystem, the stability is conditioned by three factors. First, fixation and transfer of energy in the organism at various levels. The second, conversion of abiotic components, nutrient and energy into organic structures which add to biomass. And third, the abiotic components are replenished through weathering of the lithosphere, atmospheric movements, and biogeochemical cycling of nutrients. Now, the whole environmental conditions are classified into four classes. The first class is the climatic factor. It is related to the aerial environment. The second class of environmental conditions is the edaphic factor, that is related to the soil conditions. The third class of environmental condition is the physiographic factor, that is the topographic factor. And the fourth is the biotic factor. Now, all these factors, that is the climatic factors, edaphic factors, and biotic factors, this will be studying in details in the forthcoming classes. Thank you.